What if I told you that most of your anger isn't a sign of strength but a form of laziness? That statement might feel like an insult, but stay with me for a moment. Think about it. An angry outburst is the easiest, most primitive response to a frustrating situation. It's a shortcut. It requires no thought, no strategy, no self-control. It's a momentary abdication of your own intelligence. When you can't or won't do the hard work of thinking clearly, managing your perceptions, or communicating effectively, your brain chooses the lazy path. It floods your system with chemicals, and you lash out. This laziness is incredibly expensive. It costs you your peace of mind, damages your relationships, and torpedoes your professional reputation. Every time you surrender to it, you are trading long-term power for a fleeting, illusory moment of control. But there is an alternative. There is a different path, a path of disciplined, strategic response. It is the harder path, yes, but it leads to a state of calm, unshakable strength that no person or situation can touch. This is the path walked by the ancient Stoics, who were not passive observers, but master strategists of the human mind. Today, we're not going to study them. We're going to steal their toolkit and put it to work. We are going to explore why we choose the lazy path of anger and how to start doing the hard, rewarding work of building an unbothered mind. Phase 1. The diagnosis. Why we choose the lazy path of anger. To break a habit, we must first understand why it's so appealing. Anger is the brain's default easy button for dealing with discomfort for three main reasons. First, it's an ego shortcut. When someone criticizes us or acts in a way we deem wrong, the hard work is to look inward. It requires us to ask difficult questions. Why does their opinion have so much power over me? What insecurity of mine did their comment just trigger? Is there any truth to what they said? This self-analysis is uncomfortable and requires significant mental energy. The lazy path is to simply blame outwards. He's an idiot. She's so incompetent. Blame is simple, direct, and requires zero introspection. It protects our fragile ego by making the other person the sole source of the problem. Second, anger creates the illusion of control. An emotional outburst can feel powerful. You raise your voice, you dominate the conversation. You make other people uncomfortable and force them to back down. For a brief moment, you feel like you are in charge. The hard work is to achieve actual control, which comes from a place of calm, rational thought. De-escalating a situation, communicating your needs clearly, and strategically navigating a conflict requires far more skill and energy than simply exploding. The lazy brain opts for the fireworks because it's a cheap imitation of real power. Second, anger creates the illusion of control. An emotional outburst can feel powerful. You raise your voice, you dominate the conversation, you make other people uncomfortable and force them to back down. For a brief moment, you feel like you are in charge. The hard work is to achieve actual control, which comes from a place of calm, rational thought. De-escalating a situation, communicating your needs clearly, and strategically navigating a conflict requires far more skill and energy than simply exploding. The lazy brain opts for the fireworks because it's a cheap imitation of real power. Phase 2. The Stoic Toolkit. The hard work that sets you free. If anger is the lazy path, then emotional discipline is the hard work. But like any form of exercise, it feels difficult at first. But with practice, it builds a powerful muscle that serves you for life. Here are the core disciplines you need to practice. Discipline 1. The work of the pause and interrogation. This is the foundational practice. The lazy reaction is instantaneous. The hard work is to deliberately force a space between the trigger and your response. We call this the strategic pause. It could be 10 seconds, it could be a minute, it could be telling someone, I need to think about this and I'll get back to you. During this pause, you perform the interrogation. You become a detective of your own thoughts. You must challenge the initial story your mind creates. The trigger. A colleague takes credit for your idea in a meeting. The lazy story. He's trying to sabotage me. He's a thief. This is an outrage. The interrogation. You pause and ask, is it 100% certain his motive was to steal from me? Or is it possible he's just forgetful and genuinely thought it was a shared idea? Even if his motive was bad, what is the most effective way for me to handle this right now? Is a public confrontation going to achieve my long-term goals? This cognitive labor stops the emotional hijack and allows your rational mind to plot a strategic, not a reactive course. Discipline 2, the work of perspective taking. The lazy path is to view every conflict from your own locked-in perspective, where you are the hero and the other person is the villain. The hard work is to force yourself to genuinely try to understand their point of view. This doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It is an act of strategic empathy. You ask, what pressures are they under? What fears or insecurities might be driving their behavior? What does this situation look like from their chair? When you're stuck in traffic, fuming at the car in front of you, the lazy reaction is, this idiot doesn't know how to drive. The hard work is to consider, maybe they're lost. Maybe they just got bad news on the phone. Maybe they're a nervous new driver. It is incredibly difficult to stay angry at someone when you are actively trying to see the world through their eyes. This practice dissolves anger by replacing it with a more complex and often more compassionate understanding. Discipline 3, the work of preventative maintenance. The laziest approach to our emotional health is to ignore it until there's an explosion, just as the laziest approach to car ownership is to ignore the engine until it breaks down on the highway. Extreme discipline requires preventative maintenance. This is the daily, unglamorous work of managing your internal state so that pressure doesn't build to a critical level. It means adopting a system. A simple but powerful one is the daily decompression drill. When your workday ends, before you transition into your personal life, you sit in your car or in a quiet room for just 5 minutes. You mentally review the day's annoyances, the frustrating meeting, the annoying email, and you consciously make a decision to leave them at the office. You visualize putting them in a box and closing the lid. This small ritual prevents the stacking of stress, ensuring you don't carry the day's battles into your home, where they can explode over something as trivial as a missing TV remote. It is the disciplined work of resetting your emotional baseline to 0 each day. Phase 3. The payoff. The profound rewards of doing the hard work. Why would anyone choose this harder path? Because the rewards are not just better, they exist on an entirely different plane. Choosing the lazy path of anger gives you a fleeting sense of power, followed by a long hangover of regret, damaged relationships, and stress. Choosing the hard path of discipline yields profound, lasting rewards. You gain real power. The true measure of power is not the ability to control others, but the ability to control yourself. When you can remain calm and rational while others are losing their heads, you become the most powerful person in the room. You earn deep respect. People do not respect volatile, reactive individuals. They may fear them, but they don't trust them. They trust and respect those who are stable, predictable, and composed under pressure. This quality will advance your career and deepen your relationships more than almost any other. You achieve an unshakable inner peace. This is the ultimate prize. By building a system to manage your inner world, you cultivate a sense of calm that is not dependent on the outside world behaving as you wish. Your peace is no longer a fragile object that can be stolen by a rude stranger or a bad driver. It is a fortress that you built, and you are its sole commander. The final lesson is this: anger is a declaration that you are a victim of your circumstances. Discipline is a declaration that you are the master of your response. The first piece of hard work. This isn't just an interesting idea to think about. It is a call to action. The work of building discipline starts with one small, conscious choice. You must choose the hard path over the easy one, just once. Your challenge is this: the next time you feel that flash of anger or annoyance, your mission is to practice discipline number 1, the pause and interrogation, just for that one moment. To commit to this challenge, I invite you to do something in the comments below. Describe one common lazy anger reaction you have, and then write what the hard work response would look like. For example, Lazy reaction. Yelling at the slow Wi-Fi. Hard work response. Taking 3 deep breaths and calmly restarting the router. By writing it down, you are making your first strategic plan. You are starting the work. If this guide has sparked a desire to choose the harder, better path, a like helps it find others. And to continue exploring this practical toolkit for the mind, consider subscribing. Thank you for joining this discussion. Let the hard work begin.